Good morning, Safe Haven, June 8th, 6:20 in the morning. When I make these videos, I really don't do any editing or going back over. These are pretty much raw videos, just whatever's at the top of my head. I've attempted to make this video at least 4 or 5 times. It just hasn't turned out right. Some of these videos I make, I delete because my mind just goes all over the place. I was going to speak on what I think sin is, especially if you're in a religion or an organization controlled by man. I do know that you get yourself into a religion and you haven't been in church, let's say you believe, but you really haven't been in any type of organization or community, and then you get into one. You've been searching for God or searching for answers or looking for something. You've been beating your head against the wall, one dead end after another, and normally when people are in this situation, they reach out to a family of people speaking on or of religion. I believe religion is pretty much God-based, but man-made, which is nothing wrong with that. You got a guy or a man or a woman, in some cases, called by God or ordained by God, as they say, to speak the word or speak the message, God's word, the Bible. And some of these people may be, I believe they call them theologists, or major in biblical terms, because you can read the Bible and it can be very hard to understand sometimes. When we read it, we could get lost. I think that's why there's so many different types of interpretations of the Bible. You have the King James Version, the New King James Version, the International Version, whatever. These are to help you understand the Bible, because the original King James is very hard to understand. So you have an individual, a man or a woman, studies the Bible, they read it, and they get their interpretation out of it as what God tells them. This was what this means. So they'll preach this word, the gospel, and then they will say what they think it means according to what they say God is telling them. So you get into this religion, you're off the streets or whatever, and you don't meet the standards of that religion or that church. So they start to guide you to live a certain way, to be a certain way, to act a certain way, to fit that religion. All religions are like this. Some religions have a lot of rules and regulations to help you become a cleaner religious person. Let's say you get into a religion and they don't allow the women to cut their hair or wear makeup or wear jewelry or wear pants. They do this so you can represent that church or that religion, not necessarily representing God. So you dress a certain way or act a certain way, so you're representing that church. It's not necessarily a sin, but to them it could come across, if you're getting into this religion, it could come across as it being a sin, and we can't. They can't do that. If you're trying to fit a certain organization, let's say you join a club, and they have their rules where you have to wear your hat a certain way, or whatever. I'm not sure. I think some people understand what I mean. And you represent that organization, that frat, I guess is what they call it, or whatever. So they want you to be a certain way, and some churches may even go as far as to say, if you do not go this way, you can't be part of this religion or this church. That's completely wrong. That's false. That's not how it works. So that's their rules. Nowhere in the Bible does it say women shouldn't wear pants. I don't even think pants were around back in those days, to be honest with you. Jewelry really is not a sin. It doesn't say anything about that in the Bible. I don't believe in wearing jewelry. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it, but I believe that we should be real, and we should be real to ourselves, and we really shouldn't decorate ourselves. I think it just kind of disguises our true selves. It takes away from the beauty that we hold. Same with makeup. We should always be natural. I understand you women love to look pretty. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to be happy. But at the end of the day, it's all about you and not what anybody else thinks or what they say. You are beautiful no matter what. So it doesn't say this in the Bible that you have to do this. You don't need to do this. So I believe that you have to be careful. Get into this religion. Do not allow it to control you and think that you're going to go to hell if women wear pants or jewelry. That's not so. That's not true. You're just representing that church is all that is. And I understand if you want to be part of that church and that family and that group, and you want to fit in, you want to do the right things that with their family. I get that. You don't want to be the oddball. You want to follow them. Then by all means, but it's not a sin. It doesn't say this in the Bible. So a sin, I feel, is when God puts a conviction in your heart. God should always come first before anything. And if you're doing something in life that you feel is keeping you from becoming closer to God, then you need to stop it right there. If you believe that, that's God putting a conviction on your heart. That's when a sin becomes a sin. If you're smoking cigarettes and you feel that cigarette is keeping you keeping you from being closer to God, then you need to stop smoking. And if you feel that drinking alcohol is keeping you from being closer to God, then you need to quit. Speaking of alcohol, and then we'll get a little bit off subject here. When you start drinking alcohol, and I don't want to put the fear in anybody, but when you start drinking alcohol and you start becoming drunk, you're almost opening up a portal to the spirit world, because now you're no longer becoming yourself, you're becoming something else. It's kind of like, almost like playing with a Ouija board. When you start dabbling with Ouija boards, you can conjure up something very dark and something very evil and something very negative. I can't say that that's always the case, because if you're going into it to look for, let's say, answers from a dead relative maybe who had been murdered, and you want to know what has happened, I don't see anything wrong with that. Most people, when they start messing with Ouija boards, they're doing it for the wrong intentions. But you are opening up a portal to the spirit world, and anything that is floating by can come through. And most people that enter into Ouija boards, they have evil thoughts. I'm not saying they're evil, but there is a thought in the back of their head that can say, this could be evil, this could be wrong. And with that mindset, it could be. Stay away from Ouija boards unless you're going into it with a positive and loving mindset. I don't agree with Ouija boards, and I would never mess with a Ouija board. I know that there are things out there that we do not need to be messing with. So anytime that we're doing a drug, and I'm nothing against that, I promise you, I don't judge. I'm only looking out for you and your soul. Anytime that we do a drug that alters our mind, that makes us to become something other than what we are, it can cause some major issues. Why people get drunk and kill a family, they get behind the wheel of a car and drive it and crash into somebody. We make irrational decisions when we get drunk. Be careful with alcohol. You wake up the next day and you don't remember. That's very scary, and you're entering into a different world when you start becoming intoxicated. So just be careful. People are going to justify what they're doing because they love doing it. So anytime, I'm sorry, I got off subject, but anytime that we are involving ourselves in something that is over God, that's when it becomes a sin, when you're putting something before God. Anything that you're doing you feel is holding you back, stop it. And I'm not saying it's wrong, and I'm not saying you're going to go to hell for it, because the Bible does say that all sin and come short. So if that's the case, then everybody in the world would go to hell, because we all sin. Even Christian people, religious people, one of the most acceptable sins in religion is judging. And if I was to walk into a church right now, I have tattoos, I have shaved head, I don't meet the criterias, if I said that correctly, of religion, they would automatically assume that I'm not a godly person. Even at my cashier job on the weekends at my grocery store that I work at, I speak on God a lot to my customers, and I can see them looking at my tattoos, and I know what they're thinking. That's okay. I'm still loving, and I'm still kind, and I'm still godly. That doesn't mean that I'm not. I don't believe that that's holding me back. If you're walking a godly life and you're trying to be very godly and very holy and more like God, you won't need to follow any type of standards. You're going to follow God because God resides in you. You don't need to dress a certain way. You don't need to put certain things on your body to represent God. God is already inside you. He's already in your heart. His light is going to shine from you. I know that you can see it on people. It's on their face. We have children, and we send them off in the world, and how they act in the world represents us as parents. So if they act foolish and ignorant, that's going to make us look bad as parents. But God is our Father, and how we present ourselves in this world represents Him as our Father. So if we're acting foolish and ignorant, that's not very good representation of God our Father. So be mindful with what you're getting into. Make sure that it doesn't come before God. If you're trying to be godly, I know this isn't for everyone, and not everyone believes, and that's okay. But for those who do, always keep God first. Always be loving and positive. God will shine from you. Once you start getting rid of your pains and your sorrows, and you start taking God serious when He said, lay all your burdens to me, things will start to change. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be part of a church. And I'm not saying don't. You follow your own path. We all have our own paths and our own ways to go. And you have to do what you feel is right for you. So always be loving. Always put God first. I hope that I made some sense in this video. Like I said, I go in these and I really don't know what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it. They just come out. I hope everybody has a good rest of the day. Love and peace to you. I love each and every one of you. I hope you succeed in everything that you're doing. At any time you have a comment or a question, or you want to tell me what you think, or if I've missed something, please let me know. I hope you liked the video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and Godspeed.